Welcome to Up to So Good, the podcast that unlocks the secrets of creating a purpose-driven business so we can all make this world a better place. Come join the conversation. Hello and welcome to Up to So Good, the podcast that explores the purpose of business. I'm your host, Lena Monroe. Today's guest is Avril Tomlin Hood, who is the CEO and founder of BOA, which is a digital media buying agency. And it also happens to be a B Corp. BOA is focused on reducing the overall carbon footprint of digital advertising, and it does this in a number of different ways. You'd be really surprised to learn how environmentally unfriendly the click of a button when you're browsing on the internet is, and especially those conversations with ChatGPT. Oh my goodness. Today's podcast explores the power of advertising and media buying as it can be a tool for good. You'll be surprised at what you find out and how media buying and advertising actually does touch our lives on a daily basis. So stick around and hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to Up to So Good, the podcast that explores the purpose of business. I'm your host, Lena Monroe, and today we're going to be talking to the founder of BOA.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. My name is Avril Tomlin Hood. I am the founder and CEO of BOA. BOA is a sustainable digital media buying agency. We work exclusively with purpose-driven brands to achieve high performance, lower carbon digital ad campaigns for our clients. And I can dive into that. Yes.
Yes, please. Because I think, first of all, I don't think a lot of people know what media buying is, right? And then to make it sustainable, that's a whole other part of the conversation. So let's start with what is media buying?
Okay, great. Easy question. I can answer that. I've been in the field for quite a number of years, and media buying is basically the placement of ads wherever people are looking at them, online, offline. We specialize in digital. That's where most of my expertise stems from. But any piece of inventory that's available online, paid social, paid search, programmatic, that means display ad, banner ads follow you all around the web. There is a complex ecosystem and economy behind that where we're buying and selling ads. And so media buying is what we do, which is we purchase those advertisements in the most simplest terms across all kinds of platforms.
You purchase those advertisements on behalf of companies.
On behalf of companies.
So a company will come to you and they'll say, we've created this ad and now can you place it in a strategic way?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it gets visibility.
So maybe an example, we'll work with a client. They have ideated on a campaign. They have overarching goals in mind, specific KPIs. They want to reach a certain audience or a group of or set of audiences. And they come to us and they say, here's the creative, here's the idea, here's the goal, here's the campaign vision. And then what we do is we find the right person, the right place, the right environment, and serve the ad in the right time for the right price. So that is an example of how that would work.
Do you guys also do some of the creative?
We don't actually. Okay. So we are pretty pure play. A lot of agencies are full service. They bring creative, they do web dev, they do it all. We are just, I like to say an inch wide and a mile deep. So media buying is what we do. It's in our blood. It's what we've always done. And I think it's what we'll always do.
Amazing. How'd you get into that?
Accidentally.
Okay.
So I worked in marketing and advertising and in events and in PR for the first sort of 10 years of my career. And then I ended up falling into media buying. I got a job with a woman who became a mentor of mine. And that was 2012. And she had a small media buying shop. And she was involved on both the sell side and the buy side. And so I got a really good education in the whole ecosystem. And this back in 2012, just technology it couldn't be more different than it is today in terms of how we were buying and what we were buying. And so however many years that is, between 13 years, I've been working in media buying. The industry's evolved so much. I've gotten a great education ongoing in it, just due to the nature of the industry moving so quickly. But yeah, I started working for her, worked with her for 3 years, and then took over the agency that she had founded. She wanted to do something else. I took the agency and I turned it into what it is today, which is BOA.
I see. It didn't have the name BOA before?
No, BOA is new. Yeah.
I see. And what does the name BOA mean?
Whenever I get this question, the first thing that comes to my mind is a little bit of snake and a little bit of feather. So it's we went through a really fun branding process around the name and finding the name and digging into who we are and what we want to be. And the snake was sort of a symbol in terms of regeneration, regrowth, rebirth, sustainability. That was really it. And also, fun. because we're a fun crew and we don't take ourselves too seriously.
And the snake is also incredibly, I'm South Asian originally. I don't know if that's the way to phrase it originally. I don't know. My parents are for sure. I'm Canadian. And when we think about the representation of the snake in my own culture, very, very powerful spiritual representation. Everything from, I think in the Western world, a lot of people know about like Kundalini energy, Kundalini rising, the snake reference there. But there's more than that within various I guess, spiritual traditions in the South Asian culture. So I was also wondering if there is a spiritual element and if you could comment on that.
I mean, for me, yeah, like the journey, it was interesting being a business owner, being in business for a lot of years. And the business of media buying, I should say, it's quite an analytical one. It's not a particularly creative one. It's, creative within the confines of strategy. But I'm a relatively spiritual person and a sustainability-minded person. And the snake to me is definitely an interesting symbolic representation of that. I mean, I have a couple snake tattoos. Like I love snakes. I love the symbolism of the snake.
If there is something that's really important to us deep down inside, buried in our subconscious, it comes out in ways that we're not even realizing it. And so I'm just wondering how conscious you were of pulling some of that into the construction of your company, BOA.
Oh, that's
its
so interesting.
Name, its operations.
I had help in pulling that forward. And it's sort of when the name came, it was one of those moments of like, oh, of course, this is it. And then my, wonderful director of marketing, I've worked with for many, many years, and she was with me on this whole process. Both of us were at, and she knows me well personally too, which I tend to do business and become very close to people I do business with because I think that's really important. And, having those sounding boards, people who know you when you're making decisions. And I think we both felt like, oh, this is it.
I'm just curious. I've never heard of media selling. I apologize for my ignorance in that area. I've never heard of it. I've heard of media buying, yes. What is media selling?
So broadly in the media buying industry, we'll call it, there's the sell side and the buy side. The sell side is mostly comprised of tech companies, publishers. So every website online sells inventory. So they're on the sell side. So like every bit of inventory where an ad could possibly show up is considered publisher side, sell side. So then all the companies, all the programmatic, the trade desks, Meta is on the sell side, Google's on the sell side. That's the sell side. And we sit on the buy side. So our job is to find the media. It's a very complex ecosystem, and it's fraught with fraud and bot trap, all kinds of stuff. So to find the, most efficient, effective way to buy what we want to serve the ads to the people we want to talk to with the message that resonates.
So what does it mean to make it sustainable?
Yeah, so that's kind of the layer on top of that I'm really, and BOA is really focused on. And I'm going to back up a little bit just to talk in broad terms, because this was something that as a person who was very environmentally conscious, always has been, sustainability is sort of a way of life and a given. I had not contemplated until maybe 4 years ago the carbon impact of the internet itself. So the internet itself, by its very existence, and its existence is dependent on server farms, and server farms are massive energy sucks, right? And so it's a very carbon intensive industry. So I see figures from 3.5 to 4% of global carbon emissions coming from the internet. That is on par with the airline industry. So it's huge. And all industries are, making headway and trying to reduce carbon, here, there, and everywhere. The internet has sort of been ignored in this to a large degree. I think with the advent of AI, people are talking about it a bit more because it's being pushed more to the top of the headlines, right? So the internet is highly carbon efficient. The internet is fueled by this ad ecosystem of media buying. Every piece of content you read online, nothing is free. So if you're reading publication that's not paywalled, it's all paid for by ads. Everything is paid for by ads. The economy of it is it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's huge. And so the internet is powered by advertising. Thus, advertising has a direct carbon emission output. And it's very complex too. And it's unnecessarily complex in a lot of ways. So from the time we take our client's ad and we put it in our ad server to the time it reaches the eyeballs of the intended audience, there are a multitude of intermediaries along the way that are touching that ad. So server calls are numerous, just like all the way through. And each time the server is called, carbon is used. And so that is essentially, in I guess layman's terms, how the carbon output of media buying happens.
I'd love to know more about how has AI even affected your business?
AI initially, I've been really, because ad tech, this is the industry that I live in, and ad tech is all about progress. And it's all about technology and progress at kind of all costs. And AI is one of these things, like the train has left the station and people haven't been paying attention to the implications, the negative externalities that are like environmental. Like, whoa, wait a second. Like, we have overnight, essentially, in the scheme of time, quadrupled, quintupled, whatever it is, the carbon that we are emitting to feed our internet habit, which is our way of life.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was sort of quite wary of it, and like AI this and AI that and AI everywhere. And there are AI applications for everything that anyone does in the ad industry and in the media buying industry, to helping with creative, to media planning and buying, to budgeting, to optimization. Like, there's AI everywhere. How fully formed products are, we're still on the runway.
Yeah.
But there also are applications for AI to make that inefficient supply chain I was mentioning, where every server call is, creating excess of carbon, make it more efficient.
Okay.
And so I feel like most things, it's not black and white. Same thing, you could say AI can, hold some great potential for climate solutions when it comes to like scaled industrial mapping of projects. Who knows, right? So yeah, I mean, it's complex.
Yeah. And with your business with BOA, what is the approach then to sustainability? How do you navigate this which seems deeply complex and inefficient, this system? How do you navigate that?
Yeah. So we, in terms of making our media buys actually more efficient, we are lucky enough to be a beta partner of a company called Scope 3. And their founders, who is often referred to as the godfather of ad tech, Brian O'Kelly. And he was instrumental in, I always laugh when I describe this, but he was instrumental in creating the system that actually made everything so inefficient in the first place, in terms of what has been realized in hindsight to be very carbon intensive. So he developed a function called header bidding, which is that like real-time bid system. It's like the stock market for advertisers, right? So there's one unit on a website and there are millions of advertisers in real time bidding to get that spot at the lowest price. And so every single advertiser, think about that, every single server call along that complicated supply chain.
Oh my.
So at the time, no one was thinking about this. This was in the, late 90s, early 2000s. No one was thinking about this. So this guy is an interesting guy. He made his, multiple billions of dollars in ad tech, and he sort of came back around about 4 years ago and has co-founded with some really impressive women, this company called Scope 3. And their reason for being was to figure out a methodology that would actually just measure the carbon, like what is going on, because that's hard to measure. It's hard to measure. Like, think about life cycle analysis for a large manufacturing plant. Like, that's complicated enough.
Yeah.
I'm sure you talk to you're a B Corp, you talk to companies who are getting their B Corp certification and from here to here, like all the things that are going on that you need to measure and hard to pin down, and scope 1, 2, 3, etc. So their methodology that they developed in the last few years is basically just getting the measurement down. And so we have adopted their technology to be able to sort of base level, we can measure the impact of the carbon of the ad campaign. So say we work with a client and we have a certain media spend and impression level, and we feed that through our media reporting dashboard that they've developed the tech for the measurement. We've not developed that. We just use the technology. And we can see what the impact is. And then from there is where we can identify areas for reduction or improvement.
Okay.
And so we can eliminate inefficiencies pretty quickly. We can eliminate sites that are junk, right? We can eliminate, there's sites called MFAs. It stands for made for advertising. So these are sites that are basically created to just host ads. So, clickbait.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Clickbait, like, you won't believe what he looks like. Those all go to MFAs.
Right.
So their economy is based on this, it's just this like circular little industry.
It's kind of fraudulent.
It's all fraudulent. Yeah. And below the fold. So ads that never appear, that no one's actually seen, but they're being counted and paid for. So we can identify that through this technology and just eliminate them.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And then, so with that supply path optimization, we'd call it. And then we can also do things like identify where we may be paying less for an ad, or 1,000 impressions is how we pay in media buying, but we're not getting quality traffic. We're just getting impressions, people that are not the right audience, people who are, not doing the thing we want them to do, which is visit the site, make the purchase, engage with the advertisement. And we can make tweaks to our targeting, to our channel strategy. So there are all kinds of ways that we can pull levers to create carbon efficiency.
I don't think people on a day-to-day basis know about.
No, I mean, I didn't until I started thinking about it, and it was a bit of a rabbit hole. It was around the time that we rebranded to BOA, and I was thinking, like, who do I want to work with? And I, went down that sort of journey of making a decision to commit to working with brands that had purpose beyond financial gains. So that was very clear to me. It was a great decision to make. And then started looking into like, how are ways that we can actually offer something that's more sustainable, like more in line with the companies we're working with. And this was it was the time of it. It was just around the time that we were founding BOA. This technology was just coming to the surface and companies were starting to address it.
Amazing. So, has that brought down the cost a little bit as well? Because now you're not paying for advertising on junk sites, etc.
Yeah, that's a great question. It can, not always though. It can make what I would say, make your spends more efficient and more effective. And so we've been trained in media buying over the years to like cheapest, highest reach, lowest CPM, cost per meal. That's how we measure our cost in media buying, or buy on a CPM basis, like high reach, low cost. But people are starting to, me in particular for years, like question that, like, why, like at what cost, like spraying a bunch of, even if it's, more targeted than just spray and pray, as we call it in the industry, like you're still not maximizing your dollar against the most qualified audience. So I would rather pay more and reach less people.
Or reach the right people.
The right people.
Yeah.
So
Spray
it's a bit
and
of
pray. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, we say it a lot.
Now that you're so well versed in this digital ecosystem, what are some things and practices that the everyday person can also do to reduce their carbon footprint?
Yeah. So
those are two different questions.
No, but they're great questions, and I have thoughts on both. So I think the first one about what would I, want someone to know about media buying who has no idea. When people ask me, what do you do for work? Media buying. Like, oh, like it's also not a commonly.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people would be like, what is that, right?
What is that? Yes. And then I'll say something like, those ads that follow you around after you look at a pair of shoes. Like, that's me, and I'm sorry. No, it's not all that. I would say content on the internet is not free. So it is an ecosystem that is necessary if we still want access to quality content. So that's sort of in defense of media buying. And that it's, it's highly complex, and it is like all things. It's, it's got its dark and its light side. And I think it can be used for good, because it can be used for, how we hope to use it is to carry messages, brand messages to, we do a lot of work with marketing collectives for companies that are doing, or companies or nonprofits that are doing things like promoting. I'll give an example because that's always helpful. trying to get people buying more canned food again. That's important, right? Like we've moved away from canned food. Cans are some of the most sustainable food delivery vehicle materials that we could use.
Okay.
They're infinitely recyclable. They reduce food waste. They're economical in terms of, affordability. And so we worked with an organization called cangood.org to advertise to young people who don't even look at the canned food aisle anymore, that cans are great for all these reasons and you should consider cans. Things like that, where like that would be a client that, we would be media buying for that client is really important because we're spreading a message that is impactful and there's a ripple effect. And so it's not just, those annoying ads following you around with the pair of shoes you looked at 2 weeks ago, hyper consumerism and all that. It is that too, but it's also that. So I think it's like all things. It's, it's black and it's white, it's gray. I think about AI because not everyone can actually, everyday consumer, when I talk about the complexity of the programmatic ad supply chain, like, that's not really relevant to most people unless you are in my seat or in someone in my broader industry seat and you actually can do something about that on a, delivery level. But with the AI, I think people should really, 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 really think twice about using it. I do. I use it. I don't not use it. I understand how to, like, technology. It's like, I have a 6-year-old. I'm not going to never let him get in front of a screen. That's just, a part of me is tempted to do it. But no, we have to educate and adapt and adopt and work with the technology of the time that we're in. And AI is no different. But it's just think twice before you, ask it to make you a funny image of a whatever, or think twice when you're going to ask ChatGPT or Cloud something. How important is it that you're using the AI tool versus just a traditional Google search? Can you get your answer that same way? Is it just the novelty that you're interested in? And then I came across something the other day. If you're in a ChatGPT conversation, don't open more conversations. Keep the same conversation going. And keep it going all day. That uses less carbon. Don't say thank you as a separate message because then it has to respond separately. And that, again, it's just like, it's starting to sort of, reframe your thinking to understand the real world impact of everything you do online. I mean, on that point, delete old emails. Don't store a bunch of stuff in your computer that you do not need anymore. And I'm guilty of this. I know I am, but I'm aware of it. And every time I think I'll go in and, I have PDF downloads from like 2017. And this is all, the cloud is not invisible. The cloud is storing everything at the cost of the carbon to feed the ad servers or the server farms.
Yeah. Is internet listening to us? Why is it when I'm talking about shoes, all of a sudden I'm flooded with all these adverts about shoes?
Yeah, but I'm not responsible for that.
But is that just a psychological thing that people are like, I looked up a search, I guess, and then all of a sudden now you're flooded with a search.
Yeah, so that's big. That's just very, very clear. When you search something and you go to a website, there are things called cookies that are bits of code that will take... It's not personal information. It's not, this is your name and your birthday and, what you ate for breakfast. It's like this IP address visited this site, this individual becomes identified, and then we can, sell the data to put them in a pool that qualifies them as a user that fits a certain category.
I see.
Right? So like you are someone who is interested in earthing shoes. Therefore, you may also be interested in... Kundalini yoga, right?
Sure.
Maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is not the best, but it's something like that.
For sure.
And then that data is bought and sold. So advertising runs on the purchase and sale of user data.
Okay. Gotcha. So every time you make an online purchase too, I would think.
So the company that you purchase from, they own your data. That's called first party data.
Oh, I see.
And if what's been popping up, everybody's all of a sudden paying attention. Like, what is this? Do I accept cookies? What are what?
Yeah.
If you accept the cookies and advertising purposes, that means they can sell your data to advertiser, like tech companies or brands to advertise to you.
Gotcha.
So that's what that means. So it's the, sale and purchase of data. There's also another phenomenon that happens, that some of these ad tech companies can identify who you are in close proximity to on a very regular basis and draw conclusions about your purchase.
Oh my goodness.
Behaviors or
wow.
Yeah. So you and your spouse or your close friend or your work colleague could potentially start being served similar ads.
Interesting.
Or you could get something that is more relevant to them.
So be careful who you hang out with.
Be careful who you hang out. I mean, always, but yes, in this instance, yeah. Social media algorithms can be very damaging because we've seen this like in the political landscape in US and Canada and beyond. Internationally, there've been, yeah. But in terms of classifying us into consumer groups, I mean, some may say it's reducing us to consumers, but it's economics, it's business, it's what it is. I mean, these people are going to sell things, and I would rather be on the side to using my expertise for good, so to speak, and helping businesses sell better products that are better for you, better for the planet. And so, yeah, you will find, if you look through if you use Instagram, your Instagram feed or your online journey within a day, like the ads that you're getting served are going to be entirely different than mine. Maybe not entirely different. I feel like we might have some crossover.
Maybe have some, yeah.
I think we might, but you name it. It's very individualized, and I don't think that's always a bad thing. And and the education piece, again, I'll go back to that. I think that's really important, and I think it's really useful.
If you don't want to be inundated with terrible advertisements of things that they're just not good for you, maybe start looking up things that are good. Start looking up Kundalini yoga and earthing and grounding and healthy food alternatives. I don't know. And then maybe you'll be pulled into that space. Like, I think that has happened personally to me. I think I'm in some sort of a positive vicious circle. It's positive.
It's self-perpetuating,
yes.
Right? And that's how algorithms work, which is where they can be for absolute evil,
yes.
And they can be for good. I'll use an example, which is kind of a silly one, but I think it's really pertinent. So Instagram can be a potentially very, very toxic place. And I made a conscious decision a while ago. I was like, I'm going to unfollow anyone that doesn't make me feel good. So any content that, influencer related or like lifestyle showing off or anything to do with diet or anything I don't want any of that. And so I unfollowed a lot of stuff, and I follow friends like real people. And then the stuff I follow is plant-based recipes and animal content.
Aww.
Yeah. And so it's the following, and then engaging. So if I like or I share, I'm telling the algorithm, I want more of this, give more of this to me. And so I will show people, like, look what I've done to my algorithm. It is, when you look in the Explorer section of Instagram, it is exclusively like noodle recipes.
Aww.
And furry animals.
Oh, that is so sweet.
And I have trained
the most joyful algorithm, most joyful content.
I highly suggest it. I have trained my algorithm to feed me what makes me feel not crappy.
That should be a campaign. It should be like train your algorithm right?
Yeah. And I say, when my best friend will send me some, bizarre content from online that is not online, and my response is always, please stop messing with my algorithm.
And people complain about their algorithm all the time, but
you are your algorithm.
You are. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Well, I don't know.
My algorithm is also a lot of very healthy recipes, and I do like animal videos and babies.
Yeah,
I love cute babies.
Yeah, there you go.
Spiritual messages.
Yeah,
positivity.
Yeah,
fun songs.
Yeah,
things. Yeah,
make it what you want it to be.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you can sort of share with us what you feel then, now that you've been with BOA for over, you had said, since 2012. 13, 14
Yeah,
years?
so 2012 and then 2017 was when I purchased the agency and sort of grew it into what it is today. How I feel? How
you feel the purpose has changed or maybe currently is. Like, what would you say in just a few sentences is truly the purpose of BOA?
Yeah, well, that's definitely changed in that we have one that's very clear. And I would say for a lot of years, it was sort of, a Me Too agency, as we call it in the space, where you're just kind of scrambling for business and trying to make a living in a really competitive landscape and taking clients no matter the industry vertical. BOA has a very clear vision and a clear purpose, and we don't backslide or go outside of that. And I think one of the things that really defined that crossroads, where it was like, this is who we're going to be and this is what we're going to do, is we started saying no to companies that didn't fit or didn't align or didn't feel good. And we've even found companies that on the outside, fit that bill of, maybe more sustainable or community minded. Maybe they weren't very nice to work for, and we won't work with them either, because I'm in the business of creating, first and foremost, when it comes down to it, a really happy workplace. And a strong, communicative, collaborative, mature team with really great culture. And I heard recently a colleague or a client of ours posted this, and I loved it, and I talked to him about it. Culture isn't chemistry, culture is clarity. And I think that we have that, we have communication, clarity of communication. So that's sort of the first thing. And I think BOA has really we've achieved as a team. We have a shared mission and vision. We have shared values, even if you're not as in your, gung-ho about all the sustainability stuff, like most of us are, right? And we find value and interest in that. And then in terms of what we're actually doing for companies, it couldn't be more aligned. So I feel really good about that in terms of where we came from and now where we, you make that decision and you go, okay, this is where we're going to go. And here we are.
And how about you personally? Do you feel that you are living your purpose?
Yes, I do. And I think, you had Anita Spiller on the podcast.
We did, yes.
Yeah. And I met her at a sustainable fashion event a number of years ago, and we've since become good friends. And I remember talking to her at that event. That was sort of when it was our first, I think that was like our brand launch. It was at this sustainable fashion event, and I interviewed her for something, and we met. And I remember this conversation I had with her, and she'd asked me, why did you, start this company? And I said, well, I had a kid in 2019, and it was sort of around that time. And then the, couple years surrounding that or following that I started to ask myself, what am I doing? Where's the purpose? Is my inner life and my home life and my personal life? I've been, plant-based diet for many, many, many years. Like I said, I'm a relatively conscious human being. Is that aligned with what I'm doing at work to make money? And how can I make those two things more congruent? And I feel as if, and back to having the kid, what kind of world am I leaving him? And what can I do? Can I do something? Is there something that I can do, as an advertising professional? And there turns out that there is.
Yeah.
There's a lot I can do. And to be able to get to do that and to feel good about it, I would say that it's, we're very aligned. I was in a career for a long time prior to media buying and then in media buying, and got to a point where I was like, what am I contributing to? Essentially, am I just going to help people spend money to get other people to buy more stuff to contribute to the problem that is consumerism and over-consumerism, I should say? And so it depends what you're advertising, and it depends who you're working for, and it depends what your message is. And I think advertising is as far back as the history of advertising is very interesting. I also have always been interested in advertising and how messages, this is not my wheelhouse, right? Because I'm not that creative ideator, but how different messages resonate with different groups is very interesting to me. What makes that ad go viral that we find so funny or touching or whatever, it's human connection. And the power of advertising is being able to tap into something that is beyond and that's, some people could say it's manipulative, right? That argument, but I find it fascinating. And so I think there are great applications for that. And maybe, I'm just thinking of some other, I've got tons of examples. We've worked for a group of flooring companies that are sustainability focused and using renewables in their materials, and they want to educate people that
That's great.
It's a healthy home and healthy planet. These are some materials that you should be using for, reflooring your home. And so things that people aren't maybe thinking about, like the family who was thinking about remodeling and doing their hardwood or their laminate, it's maybe not on their radar that they could choose a material that would not only be more environmentally responsible and healthier for their family. So I think that's great work.
Amazing. That is great work.
Yeah.
And that deserves to be broadcast. That story deserves to be told.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's so much out there. I mean, it's work nonprofits do. It's like BC Cancer spends a lot on advertising. I always see the big billboard ads. I have a family member who spends a lot of time in Children's Hospital with her 2 kids. And whenever I see those billboards, small but mighty, and I think like, thank goodness someone is getting this word out and keeping it top of mind. And it sort of breaks you from your reverie of driving down, for me anyways, driving down, getting from A to B in my little life and buying this and that, I think it can be really powerful. And then I think there's just, it's just education too. Like we're looking to educate. Nature's Path is our client, and they've got a lot of brands, US and Canada, and they're one of their hero made in Canada brands is K-Pasa. And I have a personal connection to K-Pasa because my closest family friend was the founder of K-Pasa, and then they sold to Nature's Path. And so I feel there's also that level going on, the spiritual level or whatever. And they wanted to advertise that they were made in Canada. So people knew during, especially back in January, February of this year, where everyone was, a little bit shaken by the economic bombs that were being dropped. And I think that's important because I was making purchasing decisions based on where things were made and who was getting my dollar. I think we all were. I think we all still are.
A lot of our, I agree.
My husband brought home the wrong kind of soy milk the other day because it was like the only thing left at the store. And I was like, oh, no. Like, no, we're with Earth's own oat.
Yes.
Oat milk. That's it. Anyways, so they are running campaigns. We just wrapped another one, but just advertising very simply, like K-Pasa is made in Canada. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
When my head hits the pillow at night that I'm advertising for folks like them. And at the same time, we ran these campaigns and we're taking the carbon measurement from all of the buys that we're doing, primarily on paid social media, and making tweaks along the way to make them more efficient. And so it's a great example of how like a company that's very mission and purpose driven, like a Nature's Path, big Canadian brand, is able to kind of live their values in an area that they otherwise were not even, paying attention to a year ago.
And I love what you said earlier too, the kind of work you're doing, the clients that you're working for, the messages that you're helping to communicate. I mean, it's nice to be able to sleep at night. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So do you have any stories about where maybe the parties might not be able to sleep at night?
So I can speak to some of types of companies I wouldn't work for in general terms without, naming names or whether we have or have not worked with such companies.
Sure. Yeah.
I think any company that is in the industry that is related to the harm of animals, and that's a personal thing. So meat, just can't go there. Dairy, generally speaking, no. So we work with a fair bit of CPG, and we tend to stick more in the, like plant-based or snack industry, or, things that are not down that road. I wouldn't work with a company that was had a business model of promoting a great deal of overconsumption. So clothing is a tough one because for a while we thought, sustainable clothing brands. We would love to work with some of those. There aren't a lot because clothing is actually like the clothing industry just can't be sustainable. If you're making something new, you're making something new.
Right.
So that one is a little like not all. There are great companies out there doing sort of minimal, harm. And then anything that, like I think that the main ones that advertise is like, tobacco or like, big pharma or things like that. But really just sort of like the overconsumption vibe I am not interested in. Or companies that are clearly, this is a bit more particular, and I'm seeing this as a trend in the food industry, which is, better for you brands that are kind of, they're masquerading as better for you, but they're really all about diet culture.
Oh, I see.
So like wellness has become a big thing for a long time. Wellness is just diet culture in disguise. That's a blanket statement. There are lots of great companies doing great things, but I've become a lot more discerning when it comes to who we want to elevate and what messages we want to help, dissememinate.
I would love to talk about some of the other things you do. For example, you host a podcast. Can you tell us about your podcast?
Sure. Yeah. We're sort of in the same way as I'm kind of an accidental media buying expert. I'm an accidental podcaster. So we started a podcast about, I guess, 2.5 years ago, something like that. And we're close to 80 episodes where we interview the leaders behind sustainable or purpose-driven brands, and we just give them kind of the floor. They're short, 20 to 30 minute episodes, and we get down to, what makes them who they are. And I selfishly get to ask any kind of question that I want to ask and learn. I was saying to you before we pressed record, I get to learn a lot about a lot of different industries and a lot of really cool companies doing innovative things and things that, I would never have even thought about if I hadn't had the opportunity. So that's, something that we really love doing.
So if you like to talk to and listen to stories about good business, come listen to more episodes of Up to So Good, and also
In with the New. Yeah.
In with the New. Very cool.
Great.
All right, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you so much, Lina. Really appreciate it.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe, hit the like button, or share an episode. And if you have any feedback, questions, or comments, or show ideas, you can email us directly at hello@allpurpose.io. Thank you once again for joining us. We'll see you next time.